Anybody who knows me, Kyle, knows that I love the women of the Bible. And I love the women that sit before me and the women who read my books too, but I'm always writing about the women of the Bible. But lately I've been, of course, I hung out with the bad girls for years. You know, when you've been one, you love them. But lately I've ventured into the good girls, the women who were closest to Jesus.
Yeah.
First, through the women of Christmas, we had Elizabeth, who pointed the way by giving birth to John the Baptist in a rather miraculous way, the same way miracle that Sarah had of bearing a child in old age. You know God was involved.
Yeah.
Then Mary, wow, what do you say about Mary, who so young gave birth to the Savior of the world and raised him as her son? And then we have Anna. Of course, anybody over 60 loves Anna. She gives us so much hope of what God might have for us. She is the one who speaks, who tells people the Savior has come, the Messiah is here. These three women were really important in the ministry, the birth of Christ. And then for the women of Easter, it's three more women, all named Mary. That's why we know it's a true story.
Yeah.
If this were a fictional, you'd give them all different names.
Change their names.
But they're all Mary. They're all Mary. So Mary of Bethany anoints his feet in preparation for his burial. Even the disciples, the male disciples, didn't believe at that point that Christ was going to die. But Mary, by a gift of God, understood and poured out this perfume. Then we have Mary of Nazareth, again, full circle Mary, mature Mary. She's at the foot of the cross. The men have scattered.
Yeah.
John is there with her, but we hear about none of the other guys. So sad. But there's Mary, his mother, at the foot of the cross. Beyond imagining, none of us can climb into her shoes. And then Mary Magdalene. She's the one that Jesus sends back to the disciples to say, tell my disciples.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting. It isn't because she's the only one who was there. It wasn't like Jesus rose from the dead and said, I was kind of hoping for John or Peter.
Yeah.
Mary was the one chosen.
She was chosen. That's
She
right.
was chosen. She was sent.
Yeah.
These women's stories take my breath away.
And one of the things I was struck by when I was reading the women of Easter is, and I think you talk about this in the book, that we put a lot of emphasis on how the disciples all either betrayed Jesus or abandoned Jesus, but we don't read about that with any of the women. They were loyal and they stuck with him, and that's something that should be pointed to, celebrated, and
However,
encouraged.
I also, it was a revelation to me as I began to write about the fact that the men all scatter and the women are still there, and I'm thinking, we got this. And then God said, why do you think the women were there and the men weren't, Liz? And I said, oh, because you called them to be. It wasn't that the guys failed and the women were superior. It was God's plan all along.
Yeah.
For the women to be involved. It was his way of saying to the church of that time, I love and have a use for and am pouring my grace on the men and the women.
Yeah.
And let me just prove that to you by using them in a significant way on the day of my resurrection.
Yeah.
The women were at the tomb, not the guys.
Yeah.
Mary ran back with the news, not a guy.
Yeah.
And that wasn't because the guys were failures. It was because God wanted to make a real strong statement.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, it's a really big deal that's
big
how
deal.
he did it.
It is.
Yeah.